24 years ago, Brazil conquered the football world. Ronaldo scored twice in the final. The famous yellow shirt stood at the top of the sport once again. 5 stars were stitched above the badge, and it felt like Brazil would dominate world football forever. But something unexpected happened. Since lifting the World Cup in 2002, the greatest football nation in history hasn't won another one. Not in 2006, not in 2010, not in 2014, not in 2018, not in 2022. 24 years of expectation, 24 years of disappointment, 24 years of heartbreak. And now, as the 2026 World Cup unfolds, Brazil faces perhaps its biggest opportunity in a generation, because this team might finally have everything needed to reclaim football's biggest prize. Or they could be heading toward another devastating collapse. And the biggest reason why may not be what you think. Let's find out. For most countries, qualifying for a World Cup is an achievement. For Brazil, it's only the beginning. No nation has won more World Cups. No nation has produced more legends. From Pelé to Ronaldo, Ronaldinho to Neymar, Brazil has always been football royalty. But football doesn't reward history. Every 4 years, the slate is wiped clean, and for nearly a quarter century, Brazil has been unable to turn talent into trophies. The strange part? They've never been far away. Most fans talk about Brazil's drought as if they've disappeared from world football. The reality is very different. Which brings us to reason number 5.
Reason number 5. Brazil has been closer than everyone thinks. Since 2002, Brazil hasn't been failing in group stages. They haven't been missing tournaments. They've consistently been among the strongest teams in the world. In 2006, they arrived with a squad filled with superstars: Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, Kaká, Adriano. Many believed they were unbeatable. Then France knocked them out. In 2010, they reached the quarterfinals. In 2018, Belgium ended their journey. In 2022, Croatia shattered their dreams. The margins have been incredibly small. One match, one mistake, one moment. That's all that separated Brazil from multiple deep tournament runs. But one tournament changed everything. And what happened next still haunts Brazilian football today. Reason number 4. The ghost of 7-1 never truly disappeared. Every football fan remembers it. Germany 7, Brazil 1. A scoreline so shocking it almost feels fictional. A World Cup semifinal on Brazilian soil, in front of millions of fans expecting glory. Instead, they witnessed one of the most devastating defeats in sports history. Germany scored once, then twice, then again, and before anyone could process what was happening, Brazil's dream had completely collapsed. The result became bigger than football. It became part of Brazilian sporting history. For years afterward, every Brazilian team carried that burden. Every defeat was compared to 7-1. Every disappointment reopened old wounds. But here's something many fans overlook. That humiliation may have helped create a stronger Brazil. Because after 2014, Brazilian football began to evolve. The focus shifted. The lessons were painful, but they were necessary. And that leads directly to the next reason. Because the Brazil we're seeing today is very different from the Brazil of the past. Reason number 3. This is no longer a one-man team. For over a decade, Neymar carried enormous expectations. Every attack flowed through him. Every headline focused on him. Every success and failure became attached to his name. But modern football rarely rewards teams that rely on a single superstar. The strongest international sides spread responsibility across the entire squad, and Brazil finally appears to be doing exactly that. Vinicius Jr. has become one of the most dangerous attackers in world football. His pace, creativity, and confidence can change a match in seconds. Rodrigo continues to develop into a world-class threat. Brazil's attack now comes from multiple directions. Opponents can no longer focus on stopping one player, and that's a major advantage in tournament football. Because when knockout matches become tight, unpredictable, and emotional, having multiple match winners can be the difference between elimination and glory. But talent alone has never guaranteed success. If it did, Brazil would already have another trophy. The next reason may be even more important. Reason number 2. Brazil finally looks built for modern World Cups. Football has changed. The days of winning purely through flair and individual brilliance are largely gone. Modern champions share common traits. They're organized, disciplined, tactically flexible, mentally resilient. Look at Argentina in 2022. Look at France. Look at Spain's golden generation. These teams knew how to suffer. They knew how to survive difficult moments. They knew how to win ugly. And that's exactly what Brazil has lacked at critical moments over the last 2 decades. But this current squad feels different. There is greater balance, greater structure, greater maturity. The team no longer looks obsessed with entertaining. It looks focused on winning. And that's often the difference between contenders and champions. Because World Cups aren't won by the team that plays the prettiest football. They're won by the team that handles pressure better than everyone else. But before we reveal the biggest reason Brazil could finally end the drought, there's one factor that makes this tournament unique, and most fans aren't talking about it. Reason number 1. This might be Brazil's last best chance. Timing matters in football. Sometimes a generation peaks at exactly the right moment, and sometimes it doesn't. Right now, Brazil may be entering the perfect window. Vinicius Jr. is approaching the prime years of his career. Rodrigo continues to improve every season. The squad contains a rare mix of youth, experience, energy, and maturity. Several key players are reaching their peak simultaneously, and opportunities like this don't come around often. Just ask Belgium's golden generation. Just ask Portugal. Just ask countless talented teams that believed another chance would always come. Sometimes it doesn't. By 2030, this squad could look completely different. The momentum could disappear. The chemistry could change. The opportunity could be gone. That's why this World Cup feels so important, because Brazil may never get a better chance than this. And perhaps that's exactly what makes them so dangerous. Because this generation has lived through every disappointment. They witnessed 7-1. They endured quarterfinal exits. They experienced the heartbreak of 2022. They understand what failure feels like. And sometimes failure becomes the greatest teacher. Argentina suffered years of heartbreak before lifting the World Cup. Spain endured decades of frustration before finally conquering the world. Now Brazil stands at a similar crossroads, one step away from redemption or one step away from more heartbreak.
Which brings us to the prediction. I believe Brazil will either win the 2026 FIFA World Cup or suffer another heartbreaking quarterfinal exit. Nothing in between. No comfortable semifinal appearance. No respectable defeat. No quiet exit. This tournament feels too important, too emotional, too defining. The talent is there. The depth is there. The experience is there. The motivation is certainly there. But World Cups are decided by moments, a penalty, a save, a defensive mistake, a moment of brilliance. That's the beauty and cruelty of football. And that's why Brazil's story remains one of the most fascinating narratives in this entire tournament. 24 years ago, they stood on top of the football world. Since then, they've experienced pressure, criticism, disappointment, and heartbreak. Now they have another chance, perhaps their best chance. The question is simple. Can Brazil finally end 24 years of World Cup heartbreak, or is another painful chapter waiting to be written? Let me know your prediction in the comments. Will Brazil lift the trophy? If not, who will? And where do you think this Brazilian generation ranks among the greatest teams we've seen in the last 20 years? One thing is certain. By the end of this World Cup, the football world will finally have its answer.